So in today's video, we're going to be reviewing some video interview answers for degree apprenticeship applications. In my free community, I made a post basically asking if anyone wanted to send a video of them answering some video interview questions, and I'd go and review it for them. If you are interested in joining my community for complete free, where you can basically get feedback from me, ask questions and this sort of thing, then there's two options. Number one is go to your browser and type school.com/apprenticeship-insider-4166 bit of a mouthful, so instead you can just go click the link in the description. It'll take you right there and you'll be able to join. So without any further ado, let's go through these interview answers now, starting off with Josh, who is an aspiring software engineering technology degree apprentice. And the question he's going to be answering today is, what is your biggest weakness? And the target company we're going to have in mind is JP Morgan. So let's go and do it. This is the first time I've heard these questions. I haven't watched them beforehand, so it'll just be a bit of a live review of them and live bit of feedback, and hopefully you can learn something as well from these answers. So let's get into this. Josh, what is your biggest weakness?
So I'll say one of my biggest weaknesses currently is sometimes I'm too much of a perfectionist. This is because when I started developing my EA project for my computer science, I actually set goals that were way too unrealistic for my ability level. For example, at the start of the project, I wanted to implement a tutorial, a leaderboard, and something like 8 to 10 levels, which was completely unrealistic, bearing in mind my ability level at the time. And what this actually led to me doing is it led to me becoming very demotivated developing the project as I wasn't meeting these goals. And it actually led to me not working on the project for a few months. However, a few months later, I actually picked this project back up and I took it from a different angle and took one of these bigger goals, such as leaderboard, and broke it down into smaller goals. And what it's allowed me to do is it allowed me to keep my motivation high while also still working to the goal one step at a time. And it's actually allowed me to develop a really high quality solution that my teachers and peers enjoy and like. And this experience that I've had, I was took into the development of my firewall website for my previous part-time employers, Tamara Fireworks. And again, to stay the product page, for example, I would break this down and focus on one thing again. So, for example, the filters or the search bar or the individual product pages. And this allowed me to again develop a high quality solution that is bespoke and detailed, and it meets the client's requirements, which I think is ever so important. And this is something that I can take into JP Morgan, as I know with their wide client base, and I know I'll be required to break certain projects down that I may be required to do. And this experience I've had will really help me do that. It'll help me digest what I have to do, and it'll allow me to develop high quality solutions for JP Morgan's clients, either it is internal or external clients. And this will then make them overall happy, and it will maintain JP Morgan's reputation as a firm, and it will actually work towards their mission statement of being the most respected financial services firm in the world.
Okay, so there are a lot of good things about the answer. First of all, very good eye contact from Josh on that one, which is a key thing a lot of people miss, but he's looking at the camera, which is really good. Second thing is overall the way he sort of structured that. The way he structured that was he gave the weakness, but he didn't just leave it as, oh, okay, this is my weakness. He just explained how he's worked on this, and now it's not really a weakness because he sorted it out in that initial situation, and also with his Fiverr website, he's also sorted that out, so it's not a weakness. And he explained how he's going to bring this to JP Morgan essentially to like help him complete high quality tasks and deliver high quality solutions at JP Morgan. So overall on a structure level that was really good. Just a couple of things I wanted to go in detail on. First things first is a concluding sentence. Okay, basically you want to end it with a nice concluding sentence that just ends it in a nice way, because psychologically people remember the start of things, people remember the end of things the best. So if you can make the ending really polished and really professional, then it's going to be really good. So I'll show you how Josh ended it, and then I'll explain how you want to end it. So the question is, what is your biggest weakness? And this is how Josh ended it.
So I'll say one of my and it'll actually work towards their mission statement.
Let me just come back a bit.
This will then make them overall happy, and it will maintain JP Morgan's reputation as a firm, and it will actually work towards their mission statement of being the most respected financial services firm in the world.
Yes, we finish his answer talking about, and it'll help JP Morgan be the most respected finance company in the world. And then it just sort of stops there. And I'm like, okay, can we just link this back? That's where just at the end of your answer, you want to have a concluding sentence, okay? And overall, doing this will help me contribute to JP Morgan's mission to be the world's most respected financial institution in the world. So that's a bit about my biggest weakness and what I've done to work on it. You just want a concluding sentence. And when I say concluding sentence, it's literally you just say so and sort of repeat the question. So that's my biggest weakness, and that's what I've done to work on it. Okay, we'll come and do these questions later, but I'll just give you an example of how that concluding sentence works for these ones down here. Okay, so that's the time when I worked really hard on something. That's like the last sentence you want to say because it ends it really nicely. Okay, so that's a couple of reasons why I chose to apply for Barclays. So that's why I wanted to apply for Barclays. Just have a concluding sentence at the end there. Okay, a lot of people miss that, but if Josh could do that, they could make that answer slightly better there. Second thing, and then the third one's the major one. Second thing, just learn this better. Okay, because it's like seemed times you're a bit sort of hesitant trying to work out what to say. So essentially now just do your answer for this question like another 5 or 10 times in a row until boom, it's the easiest thing. You can be like, yeah, so the time my weakness was this, was like you can come with this level of confidence because you know exactly what you're talking
So
about.
I'll say
It's not just like halfway through, you're going to sort of like really struggling to sort of think of what you want to say. Now, Josh definitely wasn't the worst in the world for this. Like he did know this answer pretty well, but I reckon there's still a bit more sort of tiny bit more learning, tiny bit more memorization which you can do just to make this slightly more confident. So by no means in the world was Josh like the worst at this. There are people who like know their answers way less, but I just say Josh, there's a tiny bit more you can do on this, which is gonna get to a point where boom, you can just deliver that answer straight away. We're literally almost without even thinking about it. Because sort of I could tell here that you were sort of trying to think, okay, what's my next point? What do I want to say? What do I want to say? You almost wanted to get it to a point where it's just sort of thoughtless. Like you don't even have to think about it because you've done it so many times. Okay. Now, the key thing I change about this answer is just the way you verbalized the weakness, because you actually verbalized the weakness in 3 ways. Okay, the first way was if we come to the start.
ever so important. So I'll say one of my biggest weaknesses currently is sometimes I'm too much of a perfectionist. This is because
Okay, that was how you verbalize it the first way. Number one is you're a perfectionist, but then when you went on to talk about sometimes you try and do things which are way too high above your ability level. Okay, and then what you actually were describing was you break off your tasks into 2 big chunks. Like that was actually what you described. If you look at the answer you actually just gave there for 2 minutes, it was actually about you have an activity and you have it in one massive chunk and you sort of get a bit overwhelmed, and that's like a bit of a weakness there because you've sort of bitten off more than you can chew, I guess, like in terms of quantity. So instead, what you then do is you've now started like breaking it down to smaller tasks. Like I get it, that's good, but you just want to make sure you're verbalizing because it wasn't really clear. It was a bit sort of confusing what the exact weakness of, and I think that wasn't helping your answer. So it's not perfectionism. I know you said it was perfectionism. But this is nothing to do with perfectionism. Perfectionism is where like you complete a task to like where it needs to be, but then you obsess over the details, trying to do these little things, and it just takes you too long, and it takes up a whole bunch of your time, and it's not really helpful. Now that's a good answer. If you want to do perfectionism as the answer for your what are your weaknesses question, or what is your biggest weakness question, absolutely fine. Do perfectionism, but then your answer needs to be about perfectionism. This one wasn't about perfectionism, so don't say it's about perfectionism. The next one, where you said it's way too high above your ability level, again, that wasn't what this answer was about. You said that phrase, oh, sometimes I take things on which are like too high above my ability level, but that was nothing to do with the example. Again, if you wanted to do a answer to this question on what is your biggest weakness, and you wanted it to be about doing things which are way too high above your ability level, that's absolutely fine. But then when you're describing the situation, you'll describe it differently. Okay, you'll talk about how you take on too many tasks that are too high above your ability, even though you're not sort of qualified, you're not competent to do them. There's something that I'm working on, and before I accept a task, I make sure to look if I'm able to do it, if I've had the right training, and if not, I'll go and see if I can get some extra support or something like that. Again, it's a different question. So the third and final one you did go with in the end was basically your description was describing how basically I take on like a whole bunch of tasks and it's one big massive task. That's my big weakness, just to take on one big massive task at once. But what I'm doing is to break it down. Okay, so Josh, I just be careful with the terminology there. You mentioned 3 things: perfectionism, being way too high above your ability, and taking on one massive task. Just focus on this one because it wasn't these 2, but you mentioned them and it got kind of confusing. Hope that makes sense. Cool. Let's move on to the next one. Abdullah, tell me about a time when you worked really hard on something, and this is based on an Airbus engineering apprenticeship. 1 minute 17. This might be interesting because for these kind of questions, I usually expect a bit more. And actually, same with Lucas as well. Only 1 minute 16. But we'll just see what happens. Okay, tell me about a time when you worked really hard on something.
So a problem that I decided to fix in my life was the long commute time of an hour and a half to college and back.
Hold
So
on.
what I did
Am I bugging out right now? Tell me about a time when you worked really hard on something.
So a problem that I decided to fix in my life was the
Okay, I'm guessing like you've typed the question wrong or something because the question is tell me about a time when you worked really hard on something and you're starting that off with. So a time when I fixed something in my life. So I'm guessing the actual question you're answering now is tell me about a time when you fixed something in your life. I think that's what's going on here.
So a problem that I decided to fix in my life was the long commute time of an hour and a half to college and back. So what I did was I built a cost-effective electric e-bike from scratch. So I first decided which components I was going to use. I ordered these components and then I started fitting them on. During the whole process, there were many problems I encountered, such as soldering wires together, which I had to learn from scratch, as well as configuring the hydraulic brakes, as well as many other issues with the bike and safety as well. Then I had to face challenges such as overheating and chains being snapped due to the high torque. So I methodically identified and solved these issues through testing, replacing components, and recalibrating the systems. Finally, I managed to successfully build a reliable e-bike that exceeded my performance expectations, on which I rode to sixth form during year 13. So this project really gave me hands-on experience with electrical and mechanical systems and taught me problem solving, perseverance, and adaptability. And this experience aligns with Airbus and its focus on innovation and sustainability, making it relevant to this engineering apprenticeship.
That example feels illegal. I feel like there's definitely a law against like modifying your own bike and making an electric bike. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe that's perfectly perfectly fine. Okay, first thing I'd say would be I really liked your energy, by the way. Just like your energy was very good. A lot of people have very disinterested, neutral, flat, boring, I don't care about this job energy. Whereas just the energy you were sort of giving off from the way you were speaking and your body language, and it just sort of felt like you were interested, which was great. So I really liked the energy there. Key thing though is a lot of the time you were looking at the screen. Okay, initially at the start, it's I think you would like if let's have a look at it again on mute. It looks like you're just looking down at your notes and reading it off. But then you briefly look up at the camera a tiny bit. Yeah, look at the camera there. It felt like at the start, definitely, like you knew to look at the camera, but you were occasionally looking down at your notes. But then by the second half of it, you just looked at your notes the whole time. So you might not even, by the way, you might not have been looking at your notes, but it looked like you were just reading something off a script because you were looking down here. So that's a lesson for you there, which is essentially look into that camera and make eye contact with it as much as possible. Okay, you want to be looking into the camera like this and just do this for as much of your answer as possible. If you need to, like, if you forget and you look down for a bit, it's not the end of the world, but just try and get as much eye contact as possible. And that's really going to help you. In the ending bit here, where you mentioned you related it to Airbus, which is really good. So I'll just play this end section again.
And sustainability, and taught me problem solving. It really gave me hands-on experience with
Let me
electric
start from here.
to sixth form during year 13. So this project really gave me hands-on experience with electrical and mechanical systems and taught me problem solving, perseverance, and adaptability. And this experience aligns with Airbus and its focus on innovation and sustainability, making it relevant to this engineering apprenticeship.
So what you want to do at the end there, which is exactly
Making
like what you want to do at the end there, which is exactly what Abdullah has done, is essentially relating this example to how it's going to help you. Okay, because you don't want to just say a random example about a time you did something because no one cares, right? You got to relate it. Okay, I learned certain things in here which are going to help me at Airbus. Okay, so that's what Abdullah was talking about at the end there. We were talking about this gave me knowledge on mechanical and electrical systems. I also developed my adaptability and problem solving skills. That's really good, but it was missing the final point because all you really said there was this helped develop my problem solving and adaptability skills, which I know is relevant to Airbus. Okay, which is relevant to Airbus. You want to phrase that better. You want to say, this developed my problem solving and adaptability skills, which is going to be valuable for Airbus because it's going to help me in this degree apprenticeship. These problem solving skills are going to allow me to solve problems whilst working as a degree apprentice, whether that's on engines, on this. That's what you want to do. So it's a slight, like it's literally changing a couple of words, but it's a slightly different nuance. You're not just saying what you learned there is relevant. You're saying what you learned there is specifically valuable and it's specifically going to help Airbus and help you in a degree apprenticeship. So try and just be a bit more specific when you relate it, okay? Also, when you mentioned Airbus's focus on innovation, Airbus's focus on sustainability. Could you add in a quick fact there? Okay, so just like an easy way you could enhance that would be Airbus's focus on innovation. For example, I know that it's looking into doing artificial intelligence, and also its focus on sustainability because it's looking to be net zero by 2035. I've just made those statistics and those facts up, by the way. I have no idea if they're true. But that's where literally you could just add in a quick phrase after each one to show, oh, he's done this research. He hasn't just like, because everyone can go on Airbus and see that it says sustainability on their website. But can you specifically like tune into a fact about sustainability? I know about Airbus's focus on sustainability, such as it wants to like have hydrogen planes by 2050 or whatever it is. Like I made that fact up, but that's the kind of thing you can do there. Okay, so that's what I'd say is that ending bit, you could improve that a bit, include a bit more research, and also don't just say it's relevant for Airbus, say it's specifically going to be valuable and help you contribute to Airbus's success as an organization. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to watch this one more time just to see if there's any other feedback I have for the first half of the answer, because I think that's the feedback I've given for the second half now. I want to see if I've got any feedback for the first half, so I'm going to have another watch of this now. Yeah, what I would do here is potentially in the action section, I'd add some more actions. This is obviously a star: situation, task, action, result, and relate. By the way, that what I've just talked about in the past 5 minutes about that end section, that's what I call the relate section. Basically, relating what you learned in this scenario and relating to how that's going to help you at Airbus, help you in the degree apprenticeship. Now, come back to the actions, which is where you talk about what you did. Your basic action was just you sort of solved the issue, and you went into a tiny bit of detail saying you did the soldering thing and you did this, but basically all in all it was just about, okay, I made the bike. Like that was just your simple action. You could have gone into a bit more detail on different things just to like show some other stuff. So for example, you could have talked about the start about how you did some research and you gather information and data on different solutions that would work, because that's going to show how you have research skills, going to show how you're being thorough about it. That's one thing. Okay, I brainstormed possible solutions so I could come up with the most innovative way of doing that. That's another thing you can suggest, because at the moment you're just saying, oh, I wanted to make a bike, so I made a bike. Cool. Okay, it shows you problem solving, but there's other aspects we could go with. I wanted to make a bike, so what I did was I spent a lot of time doing a lot of research. It's quite hard work, but I made sure to do it anyway, because I wanted to make sure we could get the best possible solution. And after doing some research, I then found some short list of ideas, and I started brainstorming which would be the best way to do this, which would be the best sort of, I don't know, methodologies to use for this bike. And having doing this brainstorm activity allowed me to come up with the most creative ideas and also the most innovative ideas, so I could have an efficient bike that was using the cheapest materials and it was going to work the high quality and that sort of thing. And then what I did was I developed an action plan. So I didn't want to just jump straight into it completely disorganized with making this. So I made a timetable. I made a action plan for when I needed to do everything. I scheduled my time. At this time when I was making the bike, I had a lot of lessons of things like school. I had my grade 8 trumpet exam going on. I had like athletics training, doing that for like 5 times a week. So I basically made that plan so that I could stay organized and so that I could manage my time throughout. Now, actually during the build, and that's when you could then do the stuff you mentioned there. You can talk about that. And then finally, once I'd done that, I made sure to test and sort of validate the solution, make sure it's safe. Safety is something that's really important to me, so I was doing some tests to make sure that it was all okay. And then once it was done, I just documented everything I'd done in terms of I just put it all into a document just so that for future, if I wanted to do a similar sort of thing, I had all the documentation there. Just inspiration. You don't have to say exactly what I've said there, but that's just some inspiration on how you can take this star example to something a bit more powerful. Okay, from one where, okay, basically your only action is you solving the problem. Okay, cool, you've got problem solving skills, but there's so much more you can pull out of this. There's the creating a calendar. Okay, you're showing your time management skills, you're showing you're organized. Okay, because you're creating a calendar. Okay, you could show how you did research because it shows you're dedicated. Okay, you can show how you brainstorm different ideas. You try to come up with creative solutions. It shows you creative. It shows you innovative. You can talk about how you tested and validated it. You show how you documented your like stuff afterwards, because then you're proactive. You're thinking about things. That's just a thought you want to have, because basically your actions was like 1 or 2 actions. If you can make it 3 or 5, that's even better. Okay, so I hope that helps with your answer there. Bit of improvement to the relate section, the ending section at the end, and then on that middle section, the actions. Can you do more actions? And finally, just try and look at that webcam for eye contact as much as possible. Abdullah, I hope that helps you. Okay, we've got Lucas and Ben, who've both put the same question here. Why did you choose to apply for Barclays? Lucas for 1 minute 16, Ben for 3 minutes 06. So that'll be interesting. Let's have a watch of these and let's have a compare. And feel free to put who you think is best, because it's the same question here. So maybe in the comments down below, put who you thought was best out of Lucas and Ben and where you think they can improve, and then we can jump into my feedback. So let's start with Lucas.
I think one reason why Barclays would be an excellent place for me to work is because when I spoke to a current apprentice on LinkedIn, she said that Barclays really prioritize mentorship for their apprentices, which means that it would help me to get fast development whilst also working alongside experienced professionals, so my career would really get off to a good start. In addition to this, I know that Barclays are opening a private bank booking sector in Singapore, which really shows that despite being the second largest bank in the UK, they're still aiming for continuous growth, which I think is really important. And it's definitely a company I can see myself working at for a long time and having a successful career whilst providing value towards my team. And also, I know that Barclays are aiming to have all company cars as electric vehicles by 2025, which really shows that, despite providing service to their customers, they're also trying to provide, a good service to the community by decreasing emissions. And this is really important to me on, an ethical standpoint, because it really shows that they're trying to lead the industry rather than, following on. And I think it's really a company I'd love to work at and thrive at.
So that's why I'd like to apply for Barclays, just going back to that concluding sentence which I mentioned earlier in the video. Let's go to Ben now.
So I applied to Barclays because their quote by one of the UK's CEO was that technology for technology's sake is exciting, but technology for the people's sake is something else. That really stood out to me. This is because my career aspiration in tech, I really want to try and use it to make a positive impact on not just the company itself, but for the people. That's why I want to work in financial technology. And with that, I can see that Barclays is definitely heading so much towards the right direction because of their programs such as RISE. This RISE program makes sure to allows them to collaborate with other startups, fintech startups, and with that collaboration, they really drive a program of innovation due to the fact they try and clear up any problems that young businesses have. And by doing this, they really drive a great culture. And I can see that Barclays is very heavily focused on that innovation and being a better investor for a greater financial future. This is also another thing that really stood out to me because they don't only want to focus on building better banks, but also want to improve every aspect in your life. They also do this by investing in not only fintech startups, but also ones in medicine, law, energy, and much more. We can see that Barclays is not only focusing in one area of our lives, which is finance and banking, but also many others. And Barclays is just a leading digital transformer because they were the first bank to introduce audio ATMs for visually challenged people. And by embracing such a holistic and diverse approach, this really shows how much they really focus on diversity, equality, and inclusion. And as a person from an ethnic minority, this really stands out for me because it means they were trying to treat everyone as equal and really building that support of community. Another thing as well was that how much support you get at Barclays. So you get a program support manager, you get also your people leader, and also a mentor for the knowledge in that field. 3 different mentors to really nurture my individual potential, and also it just shows how much Barclays want to invest in me as a person so that I can give back to Barclays and also hopefully the community with my work.
Yeah, comment down below what you thought of Ben and Lucas there. Who you think did better, what Ben did good, what Ben did bad, what Lucas did good, what Lucas did bad. Feel free to comment that down below what you think. And now let me get into my thoughts now. That actually surprised me, to be fair. I thought Lucas's answer was going to be quite sparse, like he didn't really do much research, and Ben was going to be lots of research. But actually turned out both of them had done lots of research, and that's very interesting because I do say a lot of the time, like, if you're speaking for longer, you're just saying more things, right? So the example I give is like, if the question is what are your strengths, and you speak for 3 minutes, you've effectively got more strengths than the person who speaks for 30 seconds when they get asked what are your strengths. But that's not always the case. And this is a good example of it here, because Lucas and Ben both have very good answers here because they've had very good research, right? Lucas talking about mentorship, the private bank booking sector. I don't even know what that means, but like the private bank booking sector in like Singapore or something, and all company cars being electric by 2025. Ben also had a lot of research, so talking about like technology and people, their RISE program, improving every aspect of life because they work in lots of sectors, they're leading in technology and their support. So Ben had one or two more reasons, but Lucas did really, like, he got, like, I wasn't expecting him to have 3 different reasons. I was expecting that to just be one reason. But the reason why Lucas managed to get through so much in just a minute and 16 was because Lucas really knew his stuff. Lucas really knew exactly what he was going to say here. He'd prepared it, he was confident, and it just meant he got through 3 reasons in 1 minute 16. So what I'd say to Lucas, well, just watch this again. Let's just watch a short, like, 10-second snippet of this again. If it loads, is the question.
I think one reason why Barclays would be an excellent place for me to work is because when I spoke to a current apprentice on...
Yeah, Lucas knows exactly what he's saying, and he's just going to say, absolutely, boom, I like that. Ben, basically, it took you a lot longer to go through the points. One, because potentially you didn't know it as well. But number 2, Lucas just had more energy. Okay? So in your answer, it was basically very slow and just took a long time between each point and saying it, and it was all very calm. And this is where a bit of sort of what's your style comes in. And if this is like your style of speaking and you don't really do that sort of loud, bombastic stuff, fair enough, I get it. But to me, if I was coming into a degree apprenticeship interview, I would try and go for more of Lucas's style. Because even though, Ben, you'd done the preparation, it just felt like Lucas had done more preparation. Like, Ben, I know you did the preparation because you had all those facts there. But just because it was a bit more slow and lethargic and it took a lot of time to get there, it just impressed me less compared to Lucas, who was just, he wasn't messing around. He was like, bang, I know it's this, I know it's this, I know it's this. Right? So if I was Lucas, what I would do is I'd potentially, like, do a bit more research, do a bit more points potentially. So you had 3 points there, got it in 1 minute 16. Maybe even had 1 or 2 points. And I thought from you there, Ben, those are some really good points actually you came up with. So Barclays being in lots of different sectors, that was really interesting. The one about them leading in technology and being the first to use, like, I don't know, audio, visual, ATMs or whatever you said, that was also really interesting as well. So potentially if I was Lucas, what I'd do is maybe like, because you're so good at this, just add in 1 or 2 more points and it'll still only take you 2 minutes and you'll be fine. That's what I would probably say. And then with Ben, it would be a case of, okay, can you now, with this answer which is pretty good, can you now just get this down to 2 minutes? Okay, and can you deliver it with more energy? Again, don't be all inauthentic. If it's literally like not your style, then fair enough. Just leave it as it is, I guess. But to me, it seems like the person who I'm going to want to employ is, I mean, I'm not hiring any degree apprentices, but if I was a recruiter, to me, Lucas seems more interested in this role, more outgoing. And with a degree apprenticeship, it's like confidence, outgoing, almost extroversion is sort of, they're going to be looking for it because that's just how the workplace works. You have to talk to new people, you have to lead meetings, so they're going to want someone who's really like socially switched on and all that sort of thing. So Ben, that's what I'd be doing. Basically, see how you can give it this answer and give it more of an energy of like. So the first reason I wanted to choose Barclays was because I heard about your quote of technology for technology's sake and people for people's sake, and learning about how you really invest in technology really interested me. I know how you lead in technology. You were actually the first company back in 2010 to be the first company to do the audio visual ATMs for the first time. And this shows how you're really invested and really interested in things like diversity and equality. And that's really important to me because I come from that background, right? That's the kind of energy I'd be going with. Okay, so maybe give it a try. Maybe it's not natural to you. Maybe you just want to do it like this. Fair enough. But to me, I just feel like that's going to help you come across as more of an enthusiastic person, more motivated person, but also just better research. Like I said, it's a bit of a psychological one there. Like, although you were well researched, you just felt less research because it took more time to get there. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so let me just summarize what I've said for everyone here. Okay, Josh. I don't want to summarize it because I can't even remember what I said. if you want to listen to my feedback again, just skip back in the video, man. So I honestly can't remember what I said for some of these, but hopefully that's some feedback. And just in terms of Lucas and Ben there, Lucas, okay, can you maybe expand on it a bit more, because like 1 minute 16 is a bit short. You can go on a bit longer. And Ben, can you actually now condense it down, make it faster? Not like speak really fast, but it's just have fewer pauses, more energy. You're just getting on with it. You're really enthusiastic. Have a try with that and see where it goes. And final thing, and I think this is for all of you, do that concluding sentence, which means when you finish your answer, that sentence at the end. So that's my biggest weakness. So that's the time when I worked really hard on something. So that's the reason I chose to apply for Barclays. So those are the reasons I chose to apply for Barclays. I think all of you didn't do that concluding sentence. So go and do that. It's going to make the end of your answer really good. So thanks everybody, you four, Josh, Abdullah, Lucas, and Ben. Thanks for doing that video interview. Hope that helps, and I hope this gave everyone else value. Take care. See you guys in a bit.